Hello and welcome to ArcGIS Mastery course. My name is Esther Swalem, and in this lesson, we will add some of the data we created in the previous lesson so we can see how we will add and edit data and create our geographical data. We will start by editing the feature classes we created in the last lesson. And after that, we will edit the shapefiles as well in the format of a point, line, and polygon. Then we will enable and see what is a snapping and how can we use it. Then after we draw our geometries, we will edit some of the attributes and the tabular data for each field. And after that, we will see how we can add fields to the table and automatically make it calculate the geometry for us. And if we draw our lines geometry right, we will create a bonus network analysis layer, which we can use to create routing from a location A to location B. This is going to be a very fun and exciting lesson. So let's jump into it and see how can we do all that. So the first thing we will do, we will open our catalog and we will go and create a new folder connection to our data we created from the last lesson. I'm gonna come here, add connect to folder, and type it here, and this is a folder where our data we created from the last lesson exist. Then we will go to ArcMap and open a new MXD file, an empty MXD file, and go to Arc Catalog and add our data from the geodatabase. Last lesson we created an intersection point feature class, a parcel feature class, and a street. We will add each one of them. And we're going to create a group. We're going to click on layers and create new group layer. We're going to call it feature classes. And we're going to select all these layers and add to the feature class. The next thing, we will add the shapefiles. If I take this line here, it's going to tell me, this is an error telling me that this shapefile doesn't have a special reference. So in order to fix this error, I'm going to close this. I'm going to delete this one from here. I'm going to go back to our catalog. In order to fix this, we need to set up the spatial reference for the polygon shapefile, the point, and the line. Let's start by the line. I'm going to say go to properties. We're going to select the same spatial reference we chose last time, which is WGS 1984 World Mercator. Going to select OK. So this one have the spatial reference right, similar to the feature classes. We're going to do the same for the point. And instead of choosing from here, this one method I prefer is to come here and do this drop down and select import. And this way we're going to import the spatial reference from another data that exists already. We can take it from the geodatabase or we can take it from the shapefile. So when I select this one, what happening here is this point can have the same spatial reference as this line. Hit add, and you can see that we have the WGS 1984 World Mercator. Okay. And then we're going to do the same for the polygon. Import, take the line. Okay. Okay. Now we have the spatial reference for the shapefile is right. We go back to ArcMap and we add our shapefiles. This time we're not going to see the same error as we get it last time. Point and polygon. And because this data we created, it's empty, we are not seeing anything on the map yet. So let's create another group layer and call it shapefiles. The way you edit the name here is you click F2. You press F2 on your keyboard, or you just click on it one click and it's going to give you the ability to rename it. And we're going to call it shapefiles. And we're going to put the shapefiles inside. And the multi-selection is you press the control and you hold the control on your keyboard and you select each one of them. And then you can drag and drop them under files. Now we have two group layers, one feature classes and one shapefiles. We don't see anything on the map and we need to draw some cities or some streets, right? So in order to do that, let's add a base layer. base map, and we're gonna select street base map and click OK. This will add for us the map, the base map for us from the street layer. And we're gonna draw in two cities. We're gonna draw in Atlanta, Georgia, and we're gonna draw in Costa Mesa, California. I already saved this bookmarks here earlier. So I'm gonna go to Atlanta. And this is the area we're gonna draw. In order to create any bookmark, you just go to any extent you want. And like, for example, here, we are here in Atlanta. I'm gonna make this a bookmark. This is Atlanta area. I'm gonna come here and say I want to create a bookmark and call it Atlanta 2. And now I can go to this bookmark anytime I want. We're gonna go back to our main bookmark, and we're gonna draw the feature classes in this block here. And we're gonna draw the streets, and we're gonna draw some polygons and some points. So let's start by drawing the feature class. And the way you start editing and draw your streets or parcels or intersections is you're gonna find this toolbar here. And if you cannot see it, all what you need to do is to come to Customize, Toolbars, and you enable this one here. See, right now we cannot see it. I'm gonna hide this one as well. So we right click, we say editor, and now we have the editor toolbar in front of us. To start an editing session, we right click on, we open the editor and we start editing. And here it shows us all the layers that are available here that we can edit it. And this layers coming from two different data sources, one coming from the FileJ database and the other coming from the file location that have the shapefiles. So here we're gonna start edit the feature classes inside a FileJ database. So we will open an editing session inside the FileJ database. So we'll select OK. Now we can edit any of these layers here. We need to see which layer we are editing because right now we have an opening session for all these layers. So we need to see which layer we are editing. By clicking Create Features, this icon here, when we click it, we will see this like window on the right side here that we can select which layer we want to edit. And based on the layer we select, you'll see some options here change. For example, if I selected the point layer, creating a line have been disabled and only you can create a point. If I click parcel or street, I'm gonna enable the line. So right now we're gonna edit the streets and we're gonna start to draw. We selected this one here and this one is create straight segments. And we start drawing by click and go all the way down. And it's always better to make sure that when you do another click, you make it with an intersection. And instead of going here and double click here, you click one here with this intersection and it's called the vertex. Now we create a vertex. We need to create another vertex with this intersection. And we double click and finish our line here. Now we will draw the other line around here. But to do that, we need to do something called snapping. And the snapping is to make sure that the line I'm going to create is actually connected to this line, because in the streets, you cannot have a line like this. This is two different lines. So I'm going to delete this one. And you can do delete by select the editing tool. You select a certain line and right click on it and click delete. And we are going to enable the snapping by coming here and select snapping. And the snapping will allow us to snap our line, our drawing to the existing lines. So we're going to enable snapping. And there's so many different ways to snap here. You're going to snap point. If you have points, you're going to snap to the points. If you have end points, you're going to snap to the end points. And here you're going to snap to vertex and edge. So if I come closer here, you're going to see that right now I'm snapping to the line. And when I start editing, I'm sure that my new line is actually connected to the line. And that's called edge snapping. Here's the end point snapping. And we created a vertex here. So that's a vertex snapping. So we're gonna come here and start drawing. We're gonna put one vertex here, another vertex here, another one here, and double click at the end here. Let's continue draw our streets quickly. Double click, another snap here and here, here, and double click. And also see like the snap comes here when the mouse is right here. It's not snapping, but snaps right here. In order to change that, you can come to snapping and select the options and change the tolerance pixels to however you want. Let's say, for example, I'm going to make it 100. Okay. Right now, it's going to snap once my mouse is like 100 pixel away from the line. It's going to start snapping. If I put this back again, as it was before, now it's snap only on 10 pixel distance. Let's continue draw some other lines. We have a vertex here, so let's do this. Double click and do this and like that. Also, in order, for example, if I'm drawing a line like this and I messed it up, I can right click anytime and I say delete sketch, or you can press Control Delete on your keyboard. So let's draw another line here. And now we have the lines. It's not very visible because the line is very thin. So we can do this quickly by coming here and double click on the line on the table of content and make it a little bit bigger and change the color to blue. And now we will see our lines is more visible. This is one of the options to draw lines. There's so many options to draw lines by different ways. I totally encourage you to try all of this different ways. We are going to look at all the advanced options to edit in ArcMap advanced course. But right now, let's try a different way to draw another line. It's called an arc segment. When we click on it, you start at the first vertex and the second one. And then when you move the mouse without clicking anything, you'll see that you are creating an arc. So I'm gonna make it for this roundabout and double click and draw another one here and create for this one. Now we have our streets drawn. We need to also draw like the parcels or the polygons. Same thing, we come here and click on parcels and we start drawing by go to our location where we start drawing and we can draw like that. And double click when we finish our editing. As you see in the polygon areas, always the first segment or the first vertex is connected to the last vertex. There's always a connection between them because we are creating a polygon, not a line. So we will always see that. And double click. That's how to create a polygon. There's also a lot of ways to create polygons in different options. And also what happens sometime when we draw the parcels while we have the snapping enabled, or when we do any drawing, when we come here and start drawing, see how the mouse is snapping to the line as we set it up. But actually I don't want to snap right now. What I want is to put the vertex on the edge of this building. So while drawing, I can actually go to snapping and disable use snapping. Now there's no more snapping and I can be accurately having the edges of my building. I double click to finish the drawing. Now let's go and draw some intersections. So we're going to select the intersections from here. We're going to add a point here. I'm going to call it, and it's better to have a snapping at this point because we need to make sure that our point is exactly at an intersection. We can add a point here, call it intersection 1, another one here, third here, and here. So now we have 4 points. It's very small, you cannot see it. So again, you can come here, click here, and make it bigger. Let's make it 8, or let's make it triangle 18 and say okay. Now the intersection icons have been changed. Now after we added the points and the polygons and the lines, the next thing we will do is to actually edit the attributes for it, like the tabular data for it. And the way to do this is by coming here and select any feature and right click on it and say attributes That's one option. So you can come here and edit any fields you have. For example, this line here, let's call this a street 1. Right click, attributes, name. I'm gonna call this street 1. I'm gonna copy it, and now this is a street 1. That's the name of the street. This one way to edit any feature is to right click and click attributes. The other way, which is I prefer if you are editing so many data, is to right click on the actual layer and open the attribute table. And because you are in an editing session, you will be able to select any feature. So when you select it from here, you're going to highlight it. So this one here, and I can name this one street 2 and select another one, street 3. And that's one way to another way to edit the attributes. As you see, we already have the shape calculated, but I have a field that's called length, and it's all null. And there is a really nice way to calculate the length for each line is by clicking on this line here and right click and say calculate geometry. And calculate geometry will allow you to calculate the length, or the options for the lines is to calculate the length or the x coordinate for the line start or the line edit, but we're going to calculate the length right now, and you can choose how you want the length to be. So for example, we're going to make it in miles right now. Say OK, and because we have this one selected, it made it for this one only. We're going to clear the selection by doing this and do the same thing again for all the fields, for all the records, and select it to be miles and OK. And all the fields have been calculated, and this is actual length. You're gonna wonder why the length here is different, because this is in meters, and we set it up to be meters when we actually created the feature class in the previous lesson. And to show you this, we're gonna do it again and make it meters, and now you will see the values is the same. But because we make it miles, it's different values. Right now, if I want to add another field at this point, let's say, for example, I want to add a field inside the intersection name. I want to say we want to add X and Y for each point or each intersection. The way you do this is you come here, table options, you click the drop down, and you select add field. But it's disabled right now. And the reason it's disabled because you cannot actually add a field when you have an editing session open. What you need to do is to save your edits, stop your editing, and come back here again, and now you have it open. Now you can add a field, let's call it X, and it's going to be double. Okay. And another one, call it Y. And let's make it double. And if you want, while your editing session is not like you don't have an open editing session, you cannot actually change anything in the attributes. You have to open an editing session. You have to select again the feature classes. And now I can make intersection int1 and do this. For the X and Y, we're going to do the same thing for the geometry calculation. And because this is a point, it shows us the options for the point. And the options for the point is either the X coordinate or the Y coordinate only. We need the X in meters, that's fine. Let's say OK. And the Y, I'm going to make it in meters as well, Y coordinate, and OK. And this is an easy way for you to draw points as much as you want and then just generate the X and Y from it directly using this method. Right now we finished drawing our feature classes. We show how we can add fields. We show how we can edit the attribute tables. So let's close this and finish the editing session for this one. Yes, I want to save it. And let's go and try to draw some other features for the shapefile. Let's go to my second location, which is Costa Mesa City in California. And we're going to draw some streets here and some buildings and some points as well. So let's do this quickly. I'm going to choose the other data set I have, which is the polygon, the point, and the line. I'm going to open editing session. And because I have the attributes here, I need to go back to the create feature on the right side here. and select line. I'm going to create my streets. Again, same thing. Double click. Snapping is enabled. Good. Double click. And we have to try to be as much like make the data looks nice as much as possible. I'm doing it quickly here, so I'm not I don't care about how accurate it is right now. But when you draw your data or you create your data, it's better to be nice and neat. I'm going to create one last line here, and that's it for the lines. Let's continue. Double click. And let's add some polygons. Let's draw this building. We can call it building 1, building 2. And of course, you can zoom in and zoom out anytime you want. You can pan. If you click the C button if you press the C button on the keyboard and hold it, you can pan. And you can zoom in and out with your mouse scroller. Now let's add some points. I'm going to call this the gem. This is a library. And this is building 1. Now we entered all the points, same thing as we did for the feature class, but this is just for the shapefile. We're going to end our editing session and we have our data saved right now. The last thing we will do is as a bonus, because we actually drew this lines in a really nice way and all the lines is connected to each other, we're going to create like a network data set so we can have a routing option. That we can go from a point A to point B and it can show us the directions for it. And the way to do this is by going to our catalog, go to the location where you draw your shapefile, and we will right click on the shapefile we just edited, the lines, and we're going to see an option here say new network dataset. We're going to choose this one. You're going to ask us what you want to name the network dataset. I'm going to call it routing. And click next. There's so many options we're gonna see right now, but there's only one option I need you to change right here is the connectivity. And the connectivity here, it say that each line is gonna connect to the other line using the endpoint, which means that all the lines gonna work in a way that if the line is not connected to the end line, it's not gonna be able to route through it. So we can change this by come here and it's selected to be any vertex. So that means that when a line is connected to a vertex in the line, it will be able to make all these lines connected to vertices as one network dataset. So we're going to say OK. Next. We're not going to discuss this right now here. Next, next, next. We're going to have a network analysis course that we will discuss all the network analysis options in more details. Right now, let's add finish. It's asked us the network dataset has been created. Would you like to build it? I'll say yes. It's building the network dataset. And now you're going to see that we have two files have been created called routing.nd and routing junctions, which is intersections. Now we have our routing dataset have been created for us. We go back to ArcMap and we add this network dataset, add data, and we add double click on here. It asks us, do you want to also add the feature classes that participate in the routing? And that means because we just created the network dataset using these lines, it actually make a copy out of this line. And it's asking us right now, do you want to add these lines also? I'll say yes, why not? And as you see, if I hide the shapefile line, I'm going to see this is the actual network with the points, the intersections, and the endpoints and the lines. And you can also change how the lines look like. For example, we're going to change the streets right now to look like this. Okay, and this is going to be our network. Now, the fun part is to actually do routing. And the way to do this is to right click here and enable the network analysis. And you're going to see this one here, and it's already automatically choosing the routing dataset as its network dataset because we have a network dataset here. And I'm going to come here and say, I want to create a new route. There's so many options that you can try and like see what it does. But right now we're going to focus on creating a new route. And you should be able to see this. Sometimes you will not be able to see this, and the reason you're not going to be able to see these two options to add the points is because you don't have the network analysis extensions enabled. So if I go to customize and open the network analysis and disable this one and click close, everything is going to be disabled. And most likely this is how it's going to look like when you open the network analysis toolbar, that it's automatically disabled. So you need to go to customize, go to extensions, and make sure you have the network analysis enabled, close, and now you have your options enabled here. Now you're going to select create network location tool, which is actually adding the points from point 1 to, I want to go from here to here, and then go to here, and then end up here. And now all what I need to do to see my route is to say solve. And here we go. It shows me the direction from 1 to 2, 3, all the way there. There's so many options to do here, and we can view the actual stops, and we can add barriers. And also we can select it to change the points or the stops, and maybe choose new service area instead of a new route. There's so many options we can do with the network analysis and all the other analysis tools, but we're going to discuss it in more details in another course. So now let's go back to our slides. Okay, so great. Now we know how to add and edit the geometry and the tabular data. We can start create our data and draw blocks or cities, and they create any vector data we want to use it in any different way, as we will see in different courses to come. At the end of this lesson, I would like to thank you again for choosing ArcGIS Mastery, and see you in the next lesson.